Hello and welcome to our webinar, Acquiring and Engaging Gen Z Credit Union Members, How Credit Unions Can Harness Collaborations with FinTechs as They Look to the Future. I'm Akia Ng with Greenlight, and I am so happy to be your moderator today, but I'm even more pumped about the panelists we have for this discussion. The solution our conversations will center around today is Greenlight for Credit Unions. This offering allows credit unions to leverage our award-winning family digital wallet and mobile financial education game to grow, retain, and educate their membership base. But I promise we'll dig more into that as we go. To our panelists, we've got Stanley Stearns, Community Financial Credit Union's President and CEO, David Dean, CU Solution Group's Chief Operating Officer, and Matt Wolf, Greenlight Senior Vice President of Business Development. There are so many accolades that I could run through between the three of these folks. And I know if you know them, you know of plenty. But since we're only together for so long together, I know that they'll come up generically in our conversation. To our panelists, anything to add before we jump in?
No, let's get to it.
Even more perfect. All right, so before we get started, I'll just let you know, as the audience members, we've set aside time for questions at the end of our presentation, so don't be shy. As you start to think of stuff, go ahead and submit them. But let's jump on in. So understanding the ins and outs of Gen Z and Gen Alpha as a whole can be overwhelming. I know I've got 2 Gen Alpha kids myself that I'm learning to navigate. So let's start with a little bit of a simpler question. When we look at the financial needs of the younger generation, how is it really differing from older generations? Tansley, would you like to start us off?
Sure. I don't know that the needs are different. I do think that for us as a credit union, one of the things that we're thinking about differently is how you make financial education actually work. We in credit unions love financial literacy. We get very enthusiastic about it. We actually have more than 50 student-run branches. And so we love to provide that financial education. Unfortunately, the data behind it demonstrates that it's not particularly effective. And so one of the things that we've been working really hard on is making sure that we're combining that financial literacy with tangible and action-oriented ways for that to be meaningful, because we know that's the way that there's going to be a path to further success. And so I don't think those needs are different. I do think that the way we'll be more successful in people finding that financial path that they're proud of is making sure that they are using that knowledge and using it as the way that it actually sticks.
Yeah, that's solid. David, Matt, any different perspective or kind of additional perspective to add?
Yeah, I want to just jump on top of that because I completely agree 100%. It's the old school way of financial literacy is you have 6 clicks in on your website. There's some article that was written 2 years ago about lease versus buy decisioning. And you realize like nobody's accessing that, right? You have to provide that within the experience. It's got to be contextual. I think a lot about the access. You talk about like kind of the difference between maybe it was when I grew up versus the way it is for maybe Gen Z, maybe not Alpha yet, but they have access to so many more financial services than we had. I had a checking account, savings account. That was it. Now with all the fintech that's out there, there's fractional share investing in stocks, there's cryptocurrency, you can invest fractional real estate, fractional art, you can buy pieces of baseball card collections. There's all kinds of ways that you can invest your money today. But that used to come with a registered investment advisor, or at least some sort of credentials in investing. And today it requires an iPhone. So, so the access is just it's beautiful and that it's right there, but it's such an important part for credit unions to play in helping to arm their membership with that financial literacy they need in this new world.
Yeah, and I guess, okay, just to jump in and great perspectives. You can tell David's a member of CFCU with how smart that, and he's clearly been consuming all the great financial education content that Tansley and her awesome team create. But yeah, just to build off David, I think what is unique is how this Gen Z is accessing those financial service, multitude of financial service options that they have, as well as who is offering it to them, also makes it kind of unique. And I think if I put on my credit union cap, is something that really needs to be considered. These younger generations absolutely expect a mobile banking experience that's just going to be seamless, right? But also really compelling and engaging. There's going to be like 43 million Gen Zers that are going to be using mobile banking by 2025. 2025 used to feel really in the distance, but it's just right around the corner. So really big opportunity to serve those young people. So really like how they access those multitude of products that David mentioned. But also they have not just more options on the products, but also just, how they meet those needs. There are mobile first players like Chime, like Venmo, even tech companies, although there's obviously been a lot of news this week, but I think Apple's still at providing financial services, at least at the time of this recording, that are really directly coming after offering some of those products David mentioned to the children of credit union members. Here at Greenlight, we work with a good number of credit unions that want to deliver that same compelling mobile experience to their members, but maybe don't necessarily have the development resources available to achieve that. So through our QSO, we do offer a solution that aims to help those credit unions better serve that next generation, through what is a mobile first banking and education experience.
Yeah, I think that's solid. And one of the things that you said was where Gen Z is getting this information. And I think that tees up like our next part of the conversation perfectly, because we've talked about how it is important to approach Gen Z and engage them properly. And Stanley, I got to call on you again, because I've seen so much just internal chatter and kind of external press about the different things that you've done at CFCU. And one of those being, I think there was a pizza party at an elementary school. And if I showed that to my son, he would be like, how do we get Stanley down here now? I need this stat. But could you tell me a little bit about that, and then the other ways that CFCU is engaging some of these new members?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I love in life is grilled cheese. And if things in credit unions don't go well, my backup plan is a grilled cheese truck. And so I do a lot of sharing of that grilled cheese with our team here. And when we were first partnering with Greenlight, and we were the very first credit union to do so, which we're really proud of, we were thinking about how we could bring that to life. And we thought, well, I could do grilled cheese for this elementary school. So that's what we did. And I did have some help with some other folks, because it was a lot of kiddos that we served grilled cheese that day. And, it just really is about storytelling to me. We really don't think about marketing, because it is about how do we engage people in a conversation. And with those kiddos, it was about grilled cheese. And we had some amazing stickers. We're still around here with the grilled cheese on it. And then being able to talk about Greenlight. And the great thing for us about Greenlight in terms of that storytelling is it so naturally connects to things that kids understand. The story that I love to share about my daughter is that she's been using Greenlight for a long time, well before the credit union was. And the reason that I needed Greenlight is that I was asking her to do chores around the house, and I had committed to allowance, and she would come to me and say, hey, mommy, where's my allowance? And I would go, and I never had any cash, because again, we use the world a little differently these days as it relates to money. And I needed something, and Greenlight was that perfect solution. So she's been using it for a while. And a few months ago, she came to me and asked me if I knew that Taylor Swift was on tour, because, she would need to make sure that I understood this. And I said, yes, Mackenzie, I do know. And she said, well, you know that there are tickets. And I was like, no, baby, there aren't tickets. Because at the time I didn't think that there were. And sure enough, here she shows me, and she showed me the $sign. And I said, okay, well, let's get Greenlight out. Let's see how much you got in your savings and your spend. And I was like, if you would like to buy your ticket, mommy will buy hers, but you got to get your own. And she used her Greenlight money, all those chores, to get her Taylor Swift tickets. So, but you think about that, and, it's a funny story, but it is, I think, such a powerful way to talk about financial literacy, right? She learned something. Those chores lead to resources that come in, and you've got choices to make about how those resources go out, and a memory she's going to have for the rest of her life based on the work that she did.
For sure. And then Matt, just as we think about the different credit unions that you might be privy to, how are you seeing them engage or kind of attract these new generations of members?
Yeah. Good question. And first off, I mean, CFCU and Stanley do a master class in this, right? Like you really, and we've seen this we have close to 7 million parents and kids engaging with the Greenlight app, whether it be through a credit union or through just directly through Greenlight. Being able to meet these kids where they like to consume content is paramount, right? And this typically means something like using short form videos, which Tansley's being modest. Her and Mackenzie created an awesome short form video that was posted on several digital channels. That I think got great engagement, right, as an example, or bringing in things like animation and gamification. It's something that Gen Z just really is attracted to. And I think it is super important, the role that credit unions like Tansley's are doing, that it's really important role that you're taking in trying to engage here. Not just, for your bottom line, but even just like the financial health of your future members. I saw a Qualtrics study recently. It said over 50% of Gen Z turn to TikTok for investing advice. So clearly there's really a serious need for trusted sources like, Community Financial, to meet them where they are, but to provide trusted advice, right? So, we offer like for all the credit union members at Greenlight, we do offer our Level Up game, which I can talk about more later. But those that make it throughout their omnichannel approach, that get their branch and frontline employees engaged when a member comes into the branches, and be able to really highlight as not a way to replace all the great efforts Tansley and team are doing, for instance, but to augment what they're doing from an education perspective, I think is really powerful. But anyone who's interested in really raising their financial education game, I always point to Tansley, and what you guys are doing in Michigan is like a gold standard for that.
Yeah,
The other thing I would just add is, we focused on grandparents too, because I think, for us in terms of the storytelling, obviously going to the schools and being with kiddos makes a lot of sense. We've got a lot of grandparents that are very passionate about their kiddos, and as they are in our branches, that's a great way for us to talk about this tool and their investment in them. So I think it's a multi-generational approach that can really impact the organization in a powerful way.
Absolutely. David, I think you were about to add.
Just anecdotally, just put my dad hat on for a second. My 9-year-old goes to an elementary school where CFCU has a student branch there. So she's been a member since she was in kindergarten. And this has just been such a great way to just kind of a slow engagement. I mean, she couldn't even count money, when she first started bringing her little deposit envelope in, but it was just part of a ritual that has now, grown over the years. So I've actually been able to watch how CFCU has really integrated financial education into the experience of being a child member. And again, it's just in line with the experience, as opposed to let's now go sit down and take a class and learn about financial education. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's definitely different these days. And I think we're really starting to put it together, right? Where we're kind of understanding their needs, and maybe not so much how they differ, but how they're unique. And then we've also heard like, okay, a grilled cheese, I think everybody should do that. Find what you like, right? And make that work for your credit unions. But I think if we could take the smallest pivot, David, I know CUSG is dedicated to bringing technology, marketing solutions, things of that nature to credit unions. I'd like to dig in a little bit on the impact that partnering with fintechs has on bringing more value into the credit unions that they serve. So yeah, I'll let you take the lead on that one for us.
Yeah, sure. Yes, we do. That's what I wake up thinking about pretty much every day. And, I remember when I first started serving credit unions with technology solutions, and we explored partnerships with fintechs, maybe, decade and a half ago. Everything at that time was all embedded, right? Everything, the objective was to maintain 100% control of and ownership of the member. And therefore everything had to be white labeled, and everything had to be kind of, buried in a digital banking app as a feature. And it's been really interesting to watch as credit unions have started to open that way of thinking and realize that brands can actually be really, really helpful. If you align with a brand that's a trusted brand, And if there's, if there's good alignment in the objectives and in the partnership. But it can certainly cut both ways, right? The devil's in the details. All fintechs are not created equal. I don't know if any of you guys saw this on Monday Night Football. Robinhood talking about essentially their banking services, their DDA accounts. And I was thinking about, I did a little research after that. They got over $1 billion in their demand deposit accounts now. That is a threat, right? But just because that's a threat doesn't mean every fintech is a threat. So I'm a big fan of QSOs. I love that Greenlight has embraced that model. I think aligned interests are super important. I think consortiums like the Circle Collective are super, super important for a number of reasons. Obviously, they offer huge value with their expertise in being able to help credit unions really vet partnerships in advance, partnerships that can be very, very valuable to them that they might miss out on otherwise. But also there's strength in numbers, and credit unions are great at that. It allows for protections. It allows for influence and feature development. So I think if you do your homework, create some strong hedges in your partnership, there's real opportunity there for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Tansley, anything to add? I know you were one of our first credit union partners. So your experience, any thoughts there?
We believe that we are not going to be able to build everything. $1.6 billion in assets. We are, nowhere near going to have the resources of big banks, even a lot of technology companies. And so
yeah,
finding the right partners really matters to us. For us, in terms of that partner selection, it truly is about partnership. In fact, we don't use the word vendor at Community Financial because what we're looking for are people that share our values, that are really going to push us. What I often say to folks as we're thinking about those partnership opportunities is, I don't want to be coming with all the ideas. What we want from a partner is someone that's really going to help us see what's around the next corner and push us to be better. And so we know we need those partnerships, and we find them in lots of different ways. And the partnership with Greenlight has been one of our favorites because the value proposition is so strong and the values alignment makes so much sense for our organization. And I truly think it's going to transform what's a very solid foundation of financial literacy into our ability to keep these relationships. Because what we saw and I saw we had a question about this, with over 50 student-run branches, you might think, oh, great, and they stay with you. No. Yeah. We have people that start with us and go to, as David described with his kiddo, enjoy the interaction with us, and then go join another credit union or another bank. And so, our work now with the relationship with Greenlight is, how do we then have a graduation product set from Greenlight, and that we move them through that experience with us so that we truly are an organization that they want to stay with in the long term.
Yeah, and I think that perfectly kind of moves into our next topic of with technology changing so frequently, what kinds of plans are we putting in place to attract and retain members? Where are we going next? And Tansley, I know you mentioned graduation. Matt, do you have any other kind of ideas or thoughts on what's next?
Yeah, just because we made Tansley talk a bunch, I can jump in and just
give her a little break.
Even we'll give her a break there. Have a glass of water. And even just to build up, I think Tansley brought up a great point in her last comment about the kind of buy versus build. At the core, what we as speaking from a fintech that partners with dozens of financial institutions, I do think the role we play here is kind of it's around creating specialization, which is kind of what Tansley was alluding to, and bringing kind of an expertise that just, you have so much to be concerned about running a credit union with 1.6 million and tens of thousands of members. We can help with speed to market, and in many cases, hopefully help some cost savings. Right. We have 500 people here at Greenlight that are doing exactly what this question asks, which is thinking about what is the future of how parents can help their kids develop smart financial habits, how they can have a convenient solution to get money to their kids, how they can have peace of mind when their kids have it. And I think a lot of the credit unions we talk to have that same a little tug of war of, hey, should we just build these things ourselves, or should we partner? And I love that you guys term it as partner, because we certainly want to be more than a vendor to them. So yeah, in terms of to some of the questions on what's next, Tansley, for instance, and team have done a great job getting this in the hands of their members. Their members are 2.5, the children of their members are 2.5 times as likely to complete a financial education level in our Level Up mobile game than the benchmark of our 6 million plus direct-to-consumer customers. They're also 4 times as likely to automate their allowance. So the parents to automate that allowance function. So kids in Michigan are going to be the envy of all these kids everywhere else, because they're always getting their allowance on time. But it's continuing to churn out, features and capabilities there. And like I said, we have 500 people focused on that. The graduation piece is absolutely central to this. The majority of the kids that have been coming in the 8 or 9 months since we've launched with Community Financial have been on the younger side, in that kind of 12 to 14 age. But we have a host of suite of tactics and campaigns, and we're starting to test some of these with Tansley's teams and a few others, to be able to start surfacing messaging both to the members, the adults, the parents, and the kids, whether that's through the app, whether that's kind of in-app stories like Instagram, whether it's through CRM emails, to be able to, reminding them that there are products and services for the child to become a member of the credit union at the appropriate age. We are innovating, for a future graduation capability where we'll be able to do it just automated fashion. So rather than us just linking and marketing, Greenlight taking advantage of all the engagement we're getting with the kids and the parents to market a community financial credit union product or membership to the child, but actually be able to, in an automated fashion, transfer and help create that account. Any funds that are in there. When we think about financial education, we want to be, by the end of next quarter, to have 120 levels or lessons in our financial education game that are based on those kind of national K through 12 standards. And we were even talking before, we're really focused on deeper engaging ways to get credit union members using more of the features in the Greenlight app. So when we think of being able, and we have our first partnership with Aperture, but we have a host of other partnerships that are going to be launching that takes that parent app experience that Greenlight has and puts it in a credit union app. So as I think about how we're working with people like Tansley in the future, it's really about beefing up the education, beefing up the ways really that we just engage and help credit unions engage with their credit unions. And great to hear David, speaking really highly of QSOs. We've made the decision to create a QSO because I think it'll help us innovate faster by partnering deeper with credit unions. So that's kind of where we're focused, but certainly would love David and Tansley's thoughts on this as well.
Great. David, why don't we let you take it?
Well, sure. I think, listen, one of the things that, kind of on a bit of a higher level that came out of everything that Matt just said that was occurring to me is that we were talking about alignment. We were talking about alignment in terms of values and alignment in terms of kind of philosophy and how we approach things. And there's clear alignment between a fintech here and a credit union. So I think that's really what it's all about. Tansley and I have spent years talking on and off about holistic member experience, right? Really prioritizing the overarching member experience. Yes, that includes a whole bunch of tiny little member experiences that add up to a holistic, great experience. But if you really are committed to a holistic, wonderful member experience, then exposing your members to something like Greenlight just becomes a part of being a member of the credit union. And I think that's the home run for me. So I love to hear it.
Perfect. Well, I think we're chugging along through this 30 minutes, and I have been enjoying this conversation, but we're going to shift to answering a little bit of the questions that have come in from our audience. So the first one that came in was, how can credit unions develop connections with Gen Z and Gen Alpha now ahead of future wealth transfer? So Matt, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the feedback we get from credit union partners of ours, and we have some banking relationships, like with Morgan Stanley, offers Greenlight, to their clients as well. It is really front and center. This is, I think, we've never had more Americans maturing, and they want to age in place. And at some point, there is going to be that massive transfer. I believe in the trillions. And I think what from Greenlight's perspective and how we've been trying to work with credit unions that have aging populations. Some of our partners have aging populations, and certainly partners like Morgan Stanley is really trying to use the Greenlight tool as a vehicle to start having those conversations with that next generation. We're able to share back who's engaging, of the members are engaging with the app, and really start to foster that initial relationship, so that, because the last thing a credit union would want is that the grandparent that cares so much about their kiddos, like Tansley said, transfers that wealth, and then that wealth, there's wealth flight, right? Like they go and they bring it to Chime, or they bring it to some other online banking platform. And so really being able to use this as a vehicle to start those conversations with the next generation members is something that we're hyper focused on delivering for folks that we work with. But yeah, go ahead if someone else has thoughts about that wealth transfer. What's going on?
As I mentioned, for us, it's really about how we think about this generationally. I think that we do have such connections with parents and grandparents. And I think that if they see us providing tools around financial literacy that are effective and make their life better, they're going to be more loyal and more likely to have that wealth transfer occur within community financial. As I've had the opportunity to do research on this topic, what you hear from parents when you ask about financial literacy is how heavy a topic it is. There's such a responsibility that parents feel. And frequently, because of their historical context, they might not have had that financial literacy. They might feel some shame about it. They might not know how to talk about it. And so they want to rely on a credit union that they trust. And so that's what makes Greenlight so powerful for us, because it's that tool that truly activates financial literacy and helps parents feel confident in how they might share that. And again, how it makes their life easier. As a parent myself, I can say being able to know that I have a tool for that is something that takes a little bit of the tasks in my life away, which is great.
Absolutely. And we will all take that. I think parents around the world will agree with that, as you said it, Tansley. The questions are flowing in now. So our second one, and this might be as far as we get just in relation to time, but what do you look for when evaluating potential fintech partnerships? What advice would you share for credit unions considering leveraging fintech solutions? I know, David, this is a part of where you play. So maybe we let you tee it up, and then Tansley, as somebody who picked a fintech partner, it could be great to hear your perspective as well.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we've touched on it a bit. It starts with alignment, I think, in kind of your culture and what you're trying to accomplish. And then, I'll just quickly share a quick anecdote. But about 10 years ago, I got to know I was very privileged. I got an opportunity to really get to know and spend some time with the CEO of PayPal. His name is Dan Schulman. Really inspirational, really motivational, really well-spoken, great vision, wanted to democratize financial services for the world. And I really bought in 100%. I was like, credit unions, we should work with PayPal. This is amazing. And then all of a sudden, bit by bit, I saw them add these competitive financial services. And what I realized is that this was not the right kind of fintech to partner with. It was okay to have them out in the world, but they were not the right partner. It wasn't a synergistic partnership. So long story short, I think what you need to look at is alignment in terms of what the value offering is, as well as alignment and just kind of the overall philosophy.
Yeah, Tansley, your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing I would say is that for us, it's about listening. We don't want to go chase bright, shiny objects. We want to understand the biggest challenges our members have and solve them. And one of my favorite quotes we had a panel of moms and listening a little bit to their challenges. And one of the moms said, there's life before Greenlight and life after Greenlight. And to us, that is truly solving a member issue in a new and unique way. And it allows us to demonstrate that as a financial cooperative that's owned by our members, we're responding to their needs. And that's really what we need to be looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let me just say that I personally have really enjoyed this time together today, and I hope that you, our audience, has as well. Before I sign us off, panelists, any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Anthony?
Thank you all for joining, and David and Tansy, thank you so much for participating.
Yeah,
It's
well,
great to be here.
thanks so much for spending your time with us today. We'll be in touch soon to provide you with the on-demand recording that you are welcome to enjoy again or share with your network and colleagues. But we hope you have a great rest of your day.